Hello everyone, welcome back to another video where this week I have been plagued with indecision when it comes to my photography. Now I don't know if this is something that's just indicative of the summer months in general or if it's just a phase that I'm going through with my photography at the moment, but just deciding on where to go to take photos and when to go is just something that I have really struggled with. At first I was thinking about going to Anglesey a few days ago, but looking at the traffic it was going to take 2 hours to get there. Normally it takes me about 1 hour and 10 minutes, and that's just because of the summer holidays and all of the tourists. And then I thought I would go to the Peak District because it's August and maybe I could go and photograph the heather, but then the weather wasn't looking particularly great. And I said in last week's video that I didn't want the weather to be a determining factor in my photography, but I also want my photography outings to be fun and to be enjoyable. And this week I just found myself putting up these barriers and making these excuses for not going somewhere, and I realized that that needed to change. So today I threw caution to the wind, and with very low expectations I decided to head to Anglesey to kind of go through with my original plan. So I headed up the east coast to the little seaside village of Moylvra. Now, I don't tend to go up the east coast of Anglesey. I tend to head on the western side of the island. That's where you'll find places like Newborough and Llanddwyn Island, the Church in the Sea, Rosniger, South Stack, all of these really popular destinations. And I thought, well, if I go east, hopefully it'll be a bit quieter. And it sort of wasn't. But rather than just seeing that as a reason to be disheartened, I kind of lent into it and thought I will make the best of the situation and maybe force myself to be creative as a result. So today, let me show you some of the photos and talk you through the compositions, how I approached my photography in Moylvra. Mindset and perspective are everything when it comes to photography, and at the end of the day, if you're out with your camera, whether you get good photos or not, it's always going to be better than sitting at home and not shooting, right? I mean, that's just my perspective for myself. I absolutely love photography and I can always find that silver lining. But today was challenging. I mean, Moylvra is a really picturesque, it's a lovely place, and on a blue sky, sunny day in August as we had today, it's teeming with people, but there were opportunities there to get some interesting photos, because if there's people there and there's a lot of hustle and bustle, there's always opportunities to find people doing potentially interesting things. I mean, take this first image as an example. I had this boat, which was something that I was immediately drawn to. I love the colour. It was kind of like an ochre orange colour, one of my favourites. So I saw that with all the kind of seaside paraphernalia, and there was this couple or this little family sat on their deck chairs on the beach. And I just thought that makes for an interesting and potentially thought-provoking image. I then took this photo of the wider scene, which was again around the same kind of area, but just focusing more on the village itself. And there were a couple of elements in this photo that I just thought added so many layers and so much depth to it. You had the dog that was swimming in the sea, you have the seagull that's kind of soaring above the village, and then if you look into the kind of corners of the image, you've got this little family that are down by the shed on the right hand side of the image, and they're just kind of set up camp there, just enjoying the sunshine. And then you've got the couple that are sat on the bench on the left hand side of the frame, and there's just all of these little elements of life and these little interactions and people just going about their day-to-day lives that I just thought were just really nice and kind of made for a photo that told a good story of what this location is at, this time of year. As I was walking around, I was just drawn to people. That became a very predominant subject because I was really curious about people's interactions within this particular location. I guess the summer months are great for that. There's just so much diversity amongst people. And as I was walking around the headland, I noticed that there were groups of people fishing. There were small kids who were probably fishing for the first time, and there were these seasoned anglers with, the big rods and all of the paraphernalia. I don't know an awful lot about fishing, but again, it was just a really nice scene of just seeing these people interacting and enjoying a kind of joint passion and a joint hobby. And I spent a lot of time just sitting around and kind of watching these little moments and these scenes unfold. And they definitely led to images that I definitely wouldn't have thought I'd be taking when I was driving to this location today, because like I said, my expectations were pretty low to begin with. As I was driving home, I was reflecting on that idea of expectations and kind of going into today's shoot. Really, my expectations were really low because, like I said, it was a blue sky day and it's the summer holidays on Anglesey. It's going to be busy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. So having expectations at all is really unhelpful, especially because I haven't been to this location before. So really, I didn't know what to expect. Everything was new and unfamiliar. And I think that gave me some inspiration to photograph and to shoot things in a different way because, you know, I wasn't necessarily relying on knowledge that I had from previous shoots. I was just literally walking around the next corner and being completely unaware of what was going to be presented to me. And I find if you set your expectations pretty low, it actually gives you more creative freedom because you're putting less pressure on yourself to do things in a certain way. So today, for example, I wanted to experiment creatively with a different editing style because I wasn't necessarily always mad for, you know, the images and the aesthetic caused by that very harsh blue sky, you know, harsh sunlight. I just thought, well, I'm going to have fun with the edit, so I decided to approach the colour and the colour grading and the contrast in a way that I maybe wouldn't if I was kind of doing a shoot in a completely different place at a completely different time. Perhaps it was just me trying to kind of salvage something from some of these photos. I was just trying to overly manipulate them perhaps to see if I could actually like the end result. And I'm really pleased to say that I think that I do. And the final thing to mention is that if I had listened to those kind of voices in my head telling me not to go to Anglesey during the summer holidays and, you know, all of these obstacles that, you know, we can all put in front of ourselves to prevent us from doing the things that we maybe should be doing, then I would have missed out on a lot of opportunities because as I was driving around, I was also noticing other things, you know, other subjects, other locations that maybe if conditions were different or if the timing was different, then I could come back here and potentially get some good images. It was kind of a scouting exercise, but a kind of unintentional one because I was literally just driving around. So although perhaps the photos today might not be the best versions of these photos that I could ever take, I definitely found a lot of benefit from venturing out today. You know, it wasn't a wasted experience. And I think that's just something that's really important to remember, I suppose, if you're faced with similar struggles this summer, because I know that not everybody enjoys photography during the summer. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about photography at this time of year. Do you kind of shy away from it, or do you sort of embrace it for what it is? So I will leave it there for today, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, do consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, do make sure to give it a thumbs up. I will see you all next week. Until then, get out there, take some photos, and make sure you have a great time doing it.